Planet Internet, I am Emperor Cole, and this is Emperor Cole Film Review, brought to you by MindbenderENT.com. And today I'm here to review Logan. This is Hugh Jackman's last time playing the character of Wolverine, and this is Patrick Stewart's last time playing the character of Professor X. Everybody, let's take this journey together. Let's do it. Okay, first, so let me say that this is a spoiler review. If you have not seen Logan, you may want to pause this video. But first, share with all your friends who have seen Logan. Then you go check Logan out. You pause this video, you come back, and then you watch it. Like I said, you have been warned, this is a spoiler review. Okay, so first off, this is the Wolverine movie that we have been asking for years. This is the Wolverine film that all of the X-Men franchise fans have wanted. We've wanted an R-rated Wolverine movie so that Wolverine can fully be the character and the person that we all know from the comic books and from the cartoon that we know that he is. We know that he's this ferocious, violent fighter who definitely murders people when they get out of line and try to fight and attack him and all that good stuff. We can thank the success of Deadpool for this movie getting this rated R. Deadpool, of course, was rated R. It was done by Fox just a year ago. It got a great response, and it did very well at the box office. So, of course, the Fox executives were willing to take a risk. They were willing to do an R-rated Wolverine movie. Hence, this is how we get Logan. Okay, so anyone who follows the comic books knows that this movie, Logan, has elements and kind of some story plot points that are somewhat similar to the comic book storyline of Old Man Logan. Now, in Old Man Logan, the bad guys in that story were actually the Incredible Hulk's kids. It's a dystopian future, and in that storyline, the Hulk's kids are kind of like hillbilly overlords who kind of control the area that Logan is actually in. And Logan goes on this long road trip with Hawkeye trying to make things right. If you really pay attention to the movie studios and whatnot, you know that Fox does not own the movie rights to the Hulk. Fox also does not own the movie rights to Hawkeye. Both of those are with Marvel/Disney. So, of course, this movie could not follow the Old Man Logan storyline. Okay, so when the movie starts out, we got Logan drunk and passed out in the back of his limousine. Logan is a limo driver, which is definitely a complete juxtaposition from where you would expect this great Wolverine, this great X-Man to be at this point in his life and in his career. I love that the movie opens up with this scene where he's fighting with the gang members over the chrome rims, because you see Wolverine trying to stop bullets from hitting the actual limo, and that's letting you know that his situation is so bad that he needs to protect this limo at all costs. It lets you know that obviously this limo is his lifeline. This is his livelihood. This is how he earns his money. And of course, we got him taking care of Professor X. We see him being ferocious. His claws, he's chopping people's arms and legs off. Guys who catching claws, getting their throats slashed, getting hit up in the chest and the stomach. He's really giving it to them. Pause. This is letting you know that this is not the typical X-Men movie. This isn't PG-13. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of gore. It's very violent and it's very visual as far as you're seeing the claws go in people. It's not like X-Men 2 where you see the claws go into the refrigerator or you have to use your imagination. You're actually seeing the damage that the claws are doing to people. And we get this right when the movie starts, so you know right from the jump, this is not the typical X-Men movie. This is something totally different. This is something that's going to be completely all the time. I thought Patrick Stewart did an excellent job at playing the role of Professor X in this movie. It's a different type of Professor X in this film, as when we're first introduced to Professor X, he's locked away in like this large tank of a room, isolated away from everyone, because he can no longer control his powers, and it could be very deadly to anyone to be around him if he has one of his seizures. And I like the way that he's able to capture, he looks like a person who's really losing his mind and completely just withering away. So Patrick Stewart did an excellent job at portraying this role. The banter between him and Wolverine when Wolverine shows up and tries to get him to take his pills is very good. It's a father-son type relationship, and it's heartbreaking to see him in that position where he goes from being the leader of the X-Men to an old man who's struggling to remember people. He doesn't really remember his face, and he's trying to talk to him. He's asking him who he is. If you've ever seen an older person when their mind and mental state starts to deteriorate in real life, it is a very heartbreaking thing. And I think that Patrick Stewart did a very good job at portraying this and bringing it to life on screen. Him and Wolverine, the father-son dynamic between the two of them was done very well. It's heartwarming at sometimes, where it's great that Wolverine was the person who stayed and looked after Professor X. It's heartbreaking when you see the way the story starts to play out, and you see the way that things happen between them. And of course, when we get to the way he died in the movie, we'll talk about that a little bit later. I like the way the writers of the film took another element of Old Man Logan and put a spin on it as it pertains to Professor X, because in the movie it's hinted that Professor X had one of his seizures back in Westchester at the mansion, and he ended up killing 7 of the X-Men. We hear that on the radio when they're riding in the car, and of course the radio gets turned off before the reporter is able to get into the full story. But I like the way they sprinkle that in there, and you got to really be paying attention to catch that. Now, in the Old Man Logan comic book, for anybody who follows the comic, it was Wolverine who had actually killed the X-Men. Mysterio and a bunch of villains attacked the X-Mansion, or at least that's what they had Wolverine believe in. It was an elaborate illusion, and Wolverine went into his berserker rage because he couldn't find any of the other X-Men. He went crazy, chopping people up, and after he killed the last person, somehow he came out of it, and he realized that it was an illusion, and he had just killed the entire X-Men team. Of course, this broke Wolverine mentally and emotionally. He decided that he was no longer going to draw his claws again. He left, went into hiding, and he ends up in Sacramento, California. He gets a wife and has a couple kids, and this is how he becomes Old Man Logan. So now, in this movie, I like the way they put a spin on it, and it's Professor X. I love the way the character X-23 is introduced in the film, and the way she's portrayed by the actress Daphne King. She did a very good job at making you feel for the character, and the crazy thing about it is she didn't even speak for about the first 3/4 of the movie. I love the way they were able to show you that she was a badass in a subtle way without being over the top with it. Like when the bad guys show up to the hideout and she doesn't even flinch or budge, she still sits there and eats her cereal. She's eating her cereal just nonchalant, everything's all good. And you got the guy getting ready to sneak up on her, he wants to try to put the cuffs on her and get her. Then you cut to the next scene and you see her walking out and she throws his head to the rest of the bad guys outside. And you see she's getting ready to mix it up and get at him. And you see the guy, he wants to take a break. He's like, hold on, don't do this. They don't want to fight with her because they know how serious she is. They know how bad this situation is about to go. So Daphne King did a very good job at playing the role of X-23. I like the fact that they gave her a name. They just didn't call her X-23. They called her Laura. Of course, it made more sense to call her Laura, but you see in the actual paperwork that she has in her book bag, when Wolverine goes through it, at one point you see where she is mutant X-23. One of the underlying themes in this film that I got was there was a theme of like family, a sense of wanting to belong to a group and be a part of something. The way X-23 develops this relationship with Professor X, where they're communicating and talking mentally, and then when she finally meets him, she gravitates to him almost like a grandfather. And of course, there's the father-daughter relationship that kind of happens organically between Logan and Laura. And it's like Wolverine was very reluctant to take her on, to take her to Eden, because he didn't believe it was a real place. He was reluctant to even have her around to take her in because he knew it was going to be trouble. But after he sees that she's like him, he sees the way she fights, he sees that she has claws, he realizes that she must have come from him. She must have been cloned from his DNA, and he finally accepts the role that he is somewhat this surrogate father who has to do something to help her out, to try to help get her to safety. So that theme of family is running throughout the film. And like I said before, also you see the relationship between Professor X and Logan. It's kind of like a father-son dynamic there. Another thing that stood out to me, also kind of along the lines of family and just wanting a sense of belonging, was the way Professor X was more than happy to accept the invitation to stay with the black family and have dinner with them and spend the night at their house after he helped them save their horses that got loose on the road. Even though Logan said, no, I don't think we should do this because we know we got bad guys chasing after us, it kind of shows a little bit of the selfishness on Professor X's part, because he just wanted to have a normal life at this point. He wanted to be able to enjoy a normal night, just like he said when he was laying in bed before the Wolverine clone came and knifed him in the chest, essentially killing him. He was saying that, you know, he would love it. He loves the fact that they got to have just one night. The fact that Laura just got to sleep in this home and have a normal night. The fact that Logan got to just have a normal night, living as a family the way normal people did. I like the fact this movie did not hold back. When the clone Wolverine shows up and he's on a mission, he's assigned to go and kill everyone there. I like the fact that he actually took out the teenage son of the young black family. I like the fact that he actually took out the mother and he attacked the father. This is true to the story. If he's supposed to be a killing machine with no soul, no remorse, he wouldn't just cut them once, he would actually kill them. He would go all the way with it. I like the fact that they even jumped and let him go all the way in, and he kills Professor X, because you see Professor X talking about, oh, how it was wonderful to have this one night, it was so great, but then he kind of alludes to how he doesn't deserve it because of something terrible that he did, once again killing the X-Men when he had one of his seizures. I'm pretty sure that's what he was alluding to. And then all of a sudden, bam, he catches adamantium claws into his chest. With him being old in his 80s and 90s, I knew he wasn't going to survive that. And of course, it was very sad. It's heart-wrenching that you have this old man, Professor X, getting knifed up like that, and you know that this is the end for him. I definitely got some tears in the theater watching this. My eyes welled up. I looked over to my left, to my right. The people sitting next to me are wiping their eyes because it was very sad. It was emotional, but it was true to the story. If you want your bad guys to really be despised and you want them to really raise the stakes in your story, in your movie, they actually have to do bad things. So the fact that he killed Professor X and the fact that he hacked up this innocent black family that were actually good people and just farmers who were helping out, that makes you like, yo, something has to be done about this guy. But it also lets you know that in this movie, anybody can get it. Action sequences in this movie are some of the best action that I've ever seen in a film, like superhero movie, action movie, thriller, or whatever. The way that they're able to capture the action, it's intense. It keeps you on the edge of your seat where you're wondering what's going to happen and how it's all going to play out. Was done extremely well. From the scene where they're at the hideout and he's in the limo trying to get through the gate, then the gate won't go down, then eventually it gets caught up in the bumper. So now he's backing up and he's taking out people on the motorcycles. That was done beautifully. When they're trying to get past the train, where he has to try to get past the tracks before the train cuts them off, and he's able to use one of the bad guys' trucks kind of to take the brunt of the hit, and they're able to spin out on the other side. That was fantastic. And then of course there's the action sequence at the end when he takes the drug and he completely goes into his berserker rage and he's taking people out left and right. He's jumping and yelling and screaming like that. That is classic Wolverine that we love to see on the screen. Like I said, the action in this movie is insane. This is definitely a two-time in the theater occasion where you're going to want to see this movie twice to make sure you caught everything, to soak it all in. My favorite scene in the movie, of course, is when they're in Oklahoma, they're at the casino, the bad guys show up and they get to the hotel room, and of course they're trying to take X-23/Laura away, and they're trying to get to Professor X, and of course he starts having one of his seizures, and everybody in the casino and in the surrounding area is completely paralyzed and experiencing his psychic power, his psychic seizure, and they're all going through it. And of course, Wolverine is moving slowly, trying to hurry up and get through the pain. He gets back to the room, and he's doing everything in slow motion. We see him knifing people in the brain and slicing people up, and there's nothing they can do about it because they're paralyzed. And of course, they're just getting killed. They're taking it one by one. Pause. And he finally gets to Professor X. He's able to get the medicine that he needs to be injected with, and he injects him just in time to get it to stop. And of course, if this seizure would have kept going, there would have been casualties. I enjoyed the way this movie brought out genuine emotions, where there are scenes where you see these mutant children who've been cloned and the way they're being treated more as objects, as weapons that they're trying to groom, and they're taking them through this harsh training where of course they want them to be killing machines that they can send out on assignments. And of course, we as the audience, we see children who need to be loved and nurtured, and in the way that they're treating these children, they're treating them more like they're just objects. They're not people. And you see the way the scientist gets upset with some of the nurses or the cleaning people, the fact that they're trying to hold birthday parties and they're singing to the kids and they're doing things to nurture and coddle them, and they get upset with them like, what are you doing, you know? So when you see that kind of stuff, of course, it brings out an emotion of anger where you want something to be done to those scientists. You feel sorry and heartbroken for those children because they're not being treated like human beings. And of course, all they know is this treatment that they're getting from these scientists. I like the way the Logan death scene was handled, where since he was older and we knew he was being poisoned from the inside out by his adamantium skeleton, which was basically causing him to not be able to heal the way he normally would heal as fast as he would, since he had it for all these years. I like the way they handled that, and I like the way that even though he put up the best fight he could against this younger clone version of himself, we knew he couldn't beat this younger clone. With the way that the clone actually beats him up and impales him on the tree and throws him down, and we know this is about to be the end of him. I think they handled it very well, where X-23 is the one who kills him. I knew that adamantium bullet was going to come back into play later on. Once I saw it early in the movie where he had the adamantium bullet and he wanted to kill himself and he thought about it, I figured later on in the movie it was going to be used some way, somehow. I thought maybe the bad guys were gonna get it and end up shooting them with it, but once I saw the clone, I figured, oh, okay, they're probably gonna have to use that to shoot him in the heart or shoot him in the head. So I was right about that, but still, the way they pulled it off, the way it was done, was excellent. Like, couldn't have been done any better. And of course, we got the heartfelt, emotional moment after X-23 goes behind and chops the tree to get him down. And she's like, you know, she whispers, "Daddy," and it's really sad because we know Wolverine's about to go, and this is this young girl, this is her quote unquote father, this is her father figure, and it's like, man, we kind of wish they had more time together to fully develop their bond, to have more adventures together. But once again, staying true to the story, we knew this was how it had to end. I knew Wolverine was going to die in some particular way at the end of this movie. Although I knew it was going to happen, it was still emotional. It was still sad seeing it. It still brought a tear to my eye because I've been watching this man play this Wolverine character / Logan for the last 17, 18 years. The X-Men are my favorite comic book characters. And I've basically grown up with this series since back in 1996, 97 when I used to watch the cartoon. They used to come on at 11 o'clock on Saturday afternoons. So it was very heartfelt seeing how this happened. It was an emotional moment. It was definitely sad, but it was done in such a way where it was perfect. And then at the end where she takes the cross that's over his stones or his grave and she turns it to the side, says the X, is like, man, it just could not have been done any better than that. And after seeing the way they ended this movie with Wolverine's death and X-23 leaves with her friends, the New Mutants, they cross over into Canada, like, there was no reason to have any type of an end credit scene. So there were people wondering, oh man, no end credit scene? That scene with Deadpool in the beginning, that was your end credit scene, but they put it in the beginning because after you have something so sad and so emotional happen at the end, you couldn't show anything that was funny or nothing else would fit after that type of ending. So that was the perfect way to end the movie. Okay, so now it's time for me to give Logan a score on the Mindbender movie meter. As I said, this is the movie of the year as far as I'm concerned right now. This movie is a sci-fi western that everybody needs to check out. The performances by Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart, I believe, might even get them at least nominated or in the Oscar conversation because their performances are actually done that well. Hugh Jackman does a beautiful job performing as Logan for the last time. He does a great job even playing the young clone version of himself where he looks much younger. He's got the energy and he's definitely seems more evil. He doesn't seem like his normal self. Patrick Stewart did a great job at portraying an elderly Professor X who's suffering through mental problems, and just this movie has everything that you could possibly want and more. So now I have to give this a score on the Mindbender movie meter. I'm going to have to say Logan, 98%. 98% on the Mindbender movie meter score. Logan. Alright, this has been Emperor Cole Film Review for the movie Logan. If you enjoyed this review, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and please definitely share this video on your Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere on social media where sharing is allowed. Please make sure you follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Mindbender Entertainment. Follow us on Twitter at MindbenderENT. And of course, make sure you check out the website, mindbenderent.com. And remember, the future is now.